Hi guys, Joe Protocol here, back for another production tip video, and in this video I would like to focus on the hats and the cymbal tracks in a drum track and how I process them. What's important about hats and cymbals and why I decided to make a video around it is because for me they really give the tempo to a drum and bass track. Like the kick and the snare is always just the same, kick, snare, kick, snare. Obviously if you're doing this type of regular drum pattern in a drum and bass track. So the hats and the cymbals keep more of the tempo a bit more and make your drum track sound fast or a slower tempo at 174-ish. So yeah, I'm going to dive in now and show you exactly how I process my hats and cymbals. Okay, so here we have a kick, snare and a break, the very basic components of a drum. So let's hear what I've got here. So let's just hear the kick and the snare individually. Snare here has a bit of the Denise Noise 2 on it to give it that kind of top end. And there's the break. As you can hear, the break by itself is a very weak. I mean, it has that roughness that I'm looking for, but it lacks that punch, which is where the additional kick and snare layers come in. And that's kind of one of the purposes of the hi-hats as well. So one of the first things I would do with a hi-hat is create like just a regular 8th or 16th pattern to add on top of this drum break that we have in order to like kind of enhance the hi-hats that are already there. Let's try this one here. And I want to create a regular pattern. So we just have a hat every 4. Hear the difference there already. I mean, it is providing clarity to the break basically, but I can also choose to make this pattern more regular, so every 8th. There you go, the difference there is very, very noticeable. Throughout the length of a track, I wouldn't always have the same hi-hat again and again and again. I like to use different variations in hats and cymbals to create like a different feeling at different parts of the track. So let's try adding now a ride cymbal instead, which is a very different type of drum. This kind of gives the drum a bit more, I don't know, how would I describe it? Let's just hear it. I have a couple of varieties of kind of ride cymbals in my sample pack here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this one, which is quite a regular ride cymbal. Also every 8th. So there we go. That's giving it like a lot more energy in the top ends. Okay, so obviously there you have like a kind of energy switch in the movement from that ride cymbal, but as you've noticed, it drops down quite a lot. The kind of, I mean, when you remove a hi-hat completely, it's for me it's too much of a change. So we can introduce the hi-hat again and simply have a listen first. Okay, what I would tend to do in this situation is drop down the level of the hi-hat. We get that switch in energy, so it's moving a little bit quicker, but without that sudden drop in volume like we had before. Let's add a utility here. And I'm just going to program in quite a low drop, so we still keep that energy of that hi-hat, and yeah, but it doesn't drop out too much. Let's just try, yeah, maybe 5 dBs. Okay, that's more like it, but I'm gonna back it off the volume drop a tiny bit more. I think 5 is maybe a bit too sharp. Okay, that's nice. So having a switch like that is really important. You can do something a bit more dramatic by creating a stop here. Nice. So that's obviously got a bit more energy. What I would do with the ride now is create like a sidechain. I did actually do a video about sidechain specifically, which you can check. I'll make sure to link that. So I want a sidechain from the kick, so that every time the kick comes in, it just kind of pumps the ride a bit more, so it gives it more movement basically. I'm actually going to go back and just change the volume automation here a bit more, 2 dBs or something like this. Okay, that's sounding nice. Another variation I'd like to show you is having a much quicker hi-hat. So at the moment we have every 1/8. Now let's try every 16. What I'm actually going to do is use a different hi-hat for this. So once again, I'm going to head to my sample pack because I've got a couple of 16 type movements in there that really work. See, the hi-hat's quite different. It's much more of a digital sounding hi-hat. Like the one I've got as the main layer is, it sounds a bit more like a kind of one from a drum kit. So let's try this one first. Actually, I have a filter on an EQ on there. And also because, yeah, I want to keep the gain down because we have another hi-hat kind of coming in. You don't want them to compete. Cool, so that's using hi-hats to create 3 quite different varieties of hi-hat and cymbal movements in a track. You know, at various points in the track, I would change these arrangements depending on what's going on with the mid lines. If you heard any of my music, you'll notice this is actually quite a common feature, quite a common thing what I do. One of the last things I would do with a hi-hat is sidechain the snare to the hi-hat in order to allow the snare to come through and be a lot snappier, because they kind of compete in a similar frequency range. And I would want the snare to be one of the main elements, and because it comes in periodically, the snare, like much less frequently than the hi-hat, then I would use this sound to just cut through the hi-hat when it's needed. So let's just try that. Reduce the release, have it really instant. see we duck out the hi-hat there, the snare comes through and gives it a much more presence, but I'm still going to back it off a tiny bit because I just want, like, I don't want to drown out the hi-hat with the snare, of course. So there are some of the ways that I use hats and cymbals to create energy in the track and to just add an extra kind of more present layer to a drum break that I use and the ways I kind of process it. So if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.